How's it going, my confident bakers? Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Welcome back to another video. Today I'll show you how to make delicious meat-filled flatbreads. So let's get in the kitchen and see how it's done. This savory Turkish style flatbread is usually made with unleavened dough. It can be filled with ground meat, usually beef or lamb, along with various spices and vegetables. A vegetarian version can be made with feta and spinach. It looks quite impressive, but it is extremely easy to make, especially because there's no fermentation to worry about. It is also extremely quick to make. It could be as little as 1 hour between mixing the dough and eating your first flatbread. So let's get right into it. Let me show you how it's made, starting with ingredients. For the dough, we'll need some white bread flour, Greek yogurt, salt, and please ignore the baking powder. It was not worth adding it. When it comes to the filling, it consists of quite a few ingredients, but you can make it as simple or as basic as you like. For mine, I chose some ground beef, green onions, garlic, fresh tomatoes, fresh parsley, salt, pepper, tomato paste, ground coriander, paprika, cumin, fresh chopped spinach, and feta cheese. All of this combined will make a really nice savory treat. We'll need the pan in which to cook the flatbreads in, we'll need the pot for pre-cooking the filling, we'll need the bowl for mixing the dough in, we'll need scales, dough scraper, and we'll need the rolling pin. A pretty basic list of equipment this time. Okay, let's jump right into it. Let's start by making the dough. Combine the yogurt and the salt in a large bowl, give it a quick mix to dissolve the salt, and then add the bread flour, grab your dough scraper and mix it to a dough. I chose to use yogurt in this dough because it will allow us to increase the hydration while still keeping the dough manageable. There's 100% yogurt in this recipe, meaning that it's equal parts yogurt and flour. If we tried to do that with water, we'd be working with porridge, but in the case of using yogurt, it feels more like a 60% hydration dough. Once the dough is mixed, weigh it and divide it into 6 equal pieces. If you're using a larger pan and you want to make larger flatbreads, go ahead, divide the dough into fewer pieces. I think 6 pieces will make for perfectly sized flatbreads. Okay, after dividing, we need to shape these random pieces of dough in little dough balls. Take them one by one, flatten them out, then fold the edge over the middle whilst going around in a circle to reach point where you started. Then tighten them against the table and that's the shaping done. Arrange the dough balls on a plate or on a tray, cover them up, leave them in the fridge to chill for 15 minutes. A colder dough is much easier to work with, that's why we are chilling it. Whilst the dough balls are chilling, we can go ahead and make the filling. Pour a little bit of oil in the pan, set it up on high heat, let the oil heat up, and then drop the beef in the hot oil and let it fry until it's nice and brown. That will take a couple of minutes. Don't stir it too much in the beginning, just spread it out and let it stick to the pan, let it brown nicely. If you stir it too much, the pan will cool down, all the juice will come out of the beef and will be boiling instead of frying. Only start stirring it when you see a nice crust on the bottom of the pan, and then once you have stirred it, keep it cooking for another couple of minutes. Once you're happy with the color, go ahead and add the green onions, the garlic, the tomatoes and the salt. We want the salt to draw the moisture out of the vegetables to make everything nice and juicy. Give it a good mix and keep cooking for around 4 minutes. A few minutes later, add the spices, the parsley and the tomato paste. As soon as we mix in the spices, they will want to stick to the bottom of the pan. So after giving everything a quick stir, add a good splash of water to the pan. Give it a quick mix and then keep cooking for another couple of minutes until almost all the water is evaporated. The mix doesn't have to be completely dry, but remember it's going inside the flatbread, so you don't want any liquids leaking out. It should have a very thick sauce consistency. Once the mix is pretty dry, add the spinach, mix it in and cook for another 2 minutes. I know there's a lot of steps, but that's what you gotta do. At least it doesn't take a lot of time. Okay, last but not least, drop in the feta, give it a quick mix and remove it from the heat straight away. And there you have it, that's the filling done. Transfer it to a bowl to cool down now. I put my bowl in the freezer to cool it down quickly, because the dough balls had been in the fridge for 15 minutes already. Now it's time to pull them out and give them a fold. Folding the dough will develop the gluten, it will make the dough nice and smooth and even easier to work with. And the 2 folds that we perform replace the whole kneading process. Some people say that it's not a no-knead dough before folding it. I mean, do they really believe that giving it 2 folds is the same as actively kneading it for 5 minutes? That's like comparing taking 2 steps versus running a mile. But don't mind them, let's get back to our dough balls. This fold is exactly the same as the one we performed earlier. Put the dough balls back on the plate or on the tray, cover them up, and leave them to chill and rest for another 15 minutes. For a total of 30 minutes in the fridge. During the final 15 minutes, the dough balls will relax and they'll be much easier to handle and to roll out. Okay, let's shape these bad boys. Grab a dough ball, roll it around in flour, really cover it on all sides, place it on the table, press it down with your hand, and then continue by rolling it with a rolling pin. If you want to make it nice and round, you need to turn the dough after each time that you roll it. Roll the dough to around 20 centimeters or 8 inches across. It should be pretty thin. Now wet your fingers with water or use a brush, and then brush the edge of the dough to make it sticky. Now take 1/6 of the cooled down filling and place it on one side of the dough. When you spread it out, be sure to leave an edge. Once the filling is nice and evenly spread out, pick up the dough from one side and fold it over. Align the two edges and stick them together. Try to press the air out before you've completely sealed the edge. We don't want it blowing up as it cooks in the pan. You could crimp the edge by folding it over and giving it a nice design, but I decided to use the fork this time. If your fork is sticking to the dough, you can dip it in the flour once in a while. Once the edge is fully crimped, it's pretty enough. But if you want to make it extra neat and tidy, you can use a pizza cutter to give it a nice trim. I guess a knife could work as well, but if you go a pizza cutter, it's definitely more convenient. I decided to try something different when cooking these flatbreads. Now you can cook them in oil or in a dry pan, it's up to you. You could even bake them in the oven. But what I decided to do is to brush them with oil instead of pouring oil in the pan, just to make the whole thing a little bit less oily. Cook the flatbreads on medium to high heat for around 5 minutes. Flip them every minute. I'm just showing one at the moment, but after this one, I cook them 2 at a time. Cooking them in a little bit of oil will give them this beautiful, unevenly brown crust, with some brown spots and some white spots, which I think look really good. If you want them to be completely brown, just use more oil. Or for the paler version, bake them in the oven or cook them in a dry pan. And they can of course also be deep fried. If you want to cook them in the oven, I would suggest going with 200 degrees Celsius, fan on. That'll be 390 Fahrenheit. They might take around 10 minutes to fully cook at that temperature. Once you're happy with the color of your flatbread, pick it up and place it on its back and let it cook for 30 more seconds. That will give the back bit a nice brown color, and it will also give it a nice straight edge. And this one looks just about done. And it turned out really well. I'm very happy with this. And there you have it. That's how you make a Turkish style stuffed flatbread. It has a beautiful half moon shape with that nice crimped edge and golden brown color. But it is really about the filling here. That fragrant spiced beef and vegetables and the salty feta all mingling inside that chewy delicious dough pocket. Stuffed flatbreads are awesome, and I should be making more of them for sure. You will get some more recipes if I haven't posted them already. Don't forget that I have a whole playlist dedicated to flatbreads. They are some of the most rewarding yet easiest breads to make. Quite often they're like a meal in one. They have a good shelf life, you can keep them in the fridge for a day or two, you can eat them hot or cold. Perfect for taking on the road somewhere. You just need to decide what you're going to fill them with. So what do you think of this recipe? What is your favorite type of stuffed flatbread? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.